Imagine sitting in the stands of Arena Mexico, one of the most historically significant wrestling venues in the world. Blinding spotlights, thousands of screaming fans, the air thick with sweat, excitement, and pure adrenaline. And then you see four figures wearing traditional lucha libre masks sitting at ringside. Who are they? You squint. You think you're seeing things. But no, cameras start moving. Photo flashes explode from every direction. People begin standing up, pointing toward the same spot. And within seconds, the entire internet detonates. Jin, Suga, Jimin, Jungkook, for members of BTS, have just appeared at one of the most iconic wrestling events in Latin America. And that night, nobody saw what was coming next. Welcome! You're watching this channel. And today, we're going to break down a moment that even seasoned sports journalists couldn't fully explain, because the night of May 9th, 2026 was not just a surprise appearance. It was a collision point between two worlds that nobody ever imagined could crash into each other. Stay until the end, because there's a detail at the very close of this video that even the most hardcore ARMY members might not know yet. Before we dive into the dramatic moments of that night, we need to understand one critical thing. This was not just any venue. Arena Mexico is not simply a sports building. Constructed in 1956, this arena is the cathedral of Lucha Libre Mexico's uniquely homegrown style of wrestling that has been woven into the soul and national identity of the country for nearly a century. Every Friday and Tuesday night, thousands of people fill its seats, not merely to watch wrestling, but to feel something far deeper. Drama, mythology, heroes, and villains, all wrapped inside a spectacle you simply cannot find anywhere else on earth. Ansemelele de Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre is no newcomer. This is the oldest wrestling promoter still operating in the world, standing since 1933. Older than WWE, older than virtually every modern wrestling federation you know by name. So when BTS decided to show up here at this place, on this night, it was not a random decision. It was a statement. But the question everyone was asking was, how did this even happen? The connection between BTS and Mexico actually runs extraordinarily deep. Mexican ARMY is one of the largest and most vocal fan bases in all of Latin America. They are legendary for their near unreasonable dedication, multi-day queues before concerts, breathtaking street decorations, and unwavering support that never dimmed even through years of hiatus. But is that enough to pull four BTS members freshly returned from military service into a wrestling arena in Mexico City? As it turns out, the answer is far more layered than anyone first assumed. May 9th, 2026, Friday night, outside Arena Mexico, the line had already snaked down the block since late afternoon. This was a regular CMLL weekly card, not a special event, not a pay-per-view, not a grand gala. Just the routine Friday night wrestling show that rolls around every week. Or so everyone thought. The Lucha Libre fans already inside that night, mostly Mexico City locals with seasonal tickets, had absolutely no idea what was about to happen. No leaks, no teasers, no rumors circulating on social media. BTS arrived in silence. This is what makes the moment so staggering. In an era where every celebrity movement is tracked in real time, where paparazzi lurk around every corner, where a single photograph can go viral within moments, four members of the most famous music group on the planet successfully walked into a venue holding thousands of people without a single media outlet knowing in advance. They entered wearing traditional Lucha Libre masks, not as a fashion accessory, not merely as a gimmick for photographs. The Lucha Libre mask is a sacred symbol in Mexican wrestling culture. A luchador's mask is his identity, his honor, and his destiny. Losing your mask in a match is the ultimate defeat. Choosing to wear one is a declaration that you respect this tradition. And Jin, Suga, Jimin, Jungkook, they chose to arrive in the most respectful way possible for the culture they were entering. When they were first spotted sitting at ringside, not in a separated VIP box, not backstage behind velvet ropes, but directly alongside the ring, level with the devoted regular fans, the first reaction from people around them was confusion. Who are these masked figures? And then someone recognized a silhouette, a posture, a way of sitting that was far too familiar to millions of ARMY around the world. And the arena that had been focused entirely on the ring slowly began to turn. This is the part that will raise the hair on the back of your neck. In the middle of the evening's matches, while attention was still splitting between the ring and the four masked figures, at its side, one of the greatest lookadors in modern CMLL history stepped through the curtain. Mystico. For those unfamiliar, Mystico is not just any wrestler. He is one of the most beloved and gifted lookadors in the modern history of CMLL. His acrobatic in-ring style, his iconic white mask, his extraordinary ability to lift an entire audience out of their seats, all of it has made him a living legend inside the world of Lucha Libre. And that night, Mystico entered the arena wearing something that nobody present had ever seen inside a wrestling venue before. A BTS jacket. Picture that image. A lookador in his iconic mask, walking with total conviction beneath the blinding lights of Arena Mexico, wearing a jacket that explicitly identified him with a K-pop group from South Korea. The reaction inside that arena unfolded in 3 waves. The first wave, a confused silence from local fans who hadn't yet fully processed who the 4 masked figures actually were. The second wave, hysterical screaming as cameras that had already been tracking the 4 BTS members captured their reaction to Mystico's entrance, and their faces, though hidden, were visibly laughing and completely disbelieving what they were seeing. The third wave, total eruption as everyone inside the arena finally connected all the dots. BTS was here. Mystico was wearing a BTS jacket. This was not coincidence. This had been planned. And outside the arena, across every corner of the internet, that wave reached tsunami proportions. Within less than 10 minutes of the first video spreading across X, the phrase BTS Mexico was trending #1 worldwide. Not just in Korea, not just in K-pop communities, but globally, including in communities that would typically have zero intersection with the world of K-pop whatsoever. The professional wrestling community, which often carries its own very distinct culture, quite separate from mainstream entertainment, reacted in ways that genuinely surprised people. Major wrestling accounts that normally covered nothing but WWE, AEW, or NJPW were suddenly flooded with CMLL content. Mystico's name was being spoken by people who may never have watched a single Lucha Libre match in their lives. Arena Mexico suddenly appeared on the global radar as somewhere people needed to visit. On the other side of that equation, ARMY members who may never have known what Lucha Libre even was were suddenly deep diving YouTube for Mystico highlight reels. The hashtag Lucha Libre began trending in countries that don't even share a border with Mexico. This was something genuinely rare in modern entertainment. 2 completely different fan bases, from 2 worlds that felt entirely separate, meeting at a single point that nobody had predicted. And that meeting happened organically, without a marketing campaign, without a formal collaboration announced weeks in advance. Just from one night that looked ordinary in one of the most historic arenas on Earth. Now let's talk about something deeper than simply, wow, BTS watched wrestling. Because if you only see this moment as viral entertainment, you're missing layers of meaning that are far more fascinating. Think first about identity and masks. In Lucha Libre, the mask is not just a costume. The mask represents who you truly are or who you aspire to make yourself become. A lookador who loses his mask in the ring doesn't just lose a match, he loses symbolically, exposed before everyone watching. BTS chose to arrive wearing masks. On one level, this was disguise. But on another level, and this is the far more interesting reading, it was a way for them to enter the culture they were visiting, not as outside observers watching from a safe distance, but as participants who honored and embraced the tradition. For members of a group whose public identity has always been extraordinarily strong and visual, choosing to cover their faces and arrive as something else entirely, there is poetry in that decision that you simply cannot ignore. Think also about the timing. Jimin and Jungkook had recently completed their mandatory military service. Jin had returned earlier. Suga had also finished his duty. This was the BTS reunification phase, a moment that ARMY had been waiting for, with held breath for years. And their first choice to appear publicly together wasn't on a lavish concert stage, not on an awards show red carpet, not inside a controlled television studio, but in a wrestling arena in Mexico, wearing masks, sitting at ringside among ordinary people. That is a statement of character, and that statement is very loud. Think, too, about culture crossing culture. We live in an era where conversations about cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation run hot and deeply sensitive. Every time an artist from one culture enters the space of another, those questions inevitably surface. But the response from the lucha libre community, from Mexican fans, from the luchadors themselves, from local sports media was almost unanimously positive. Not because they don't care about the integrity of their culture, but precisely because the way BTS arrived demonstrated real understanding and genuine respect. They didn't come as tourists looking for photo opportunities. They didn't come to extract lucha libre aesthetics as a fashion prop. They came to witness and celebrate as an audience that was truly present, not as celebrities who wanted to be seen. And that is the entire difference. Now, here's what I promised at the beginning of this video. The details that even the most dedicated ARMY members may not have caught from the various reports that have already circulated. First, the masks they wore were not generic masks bought at a souvenir shop. Based on accounts from fans who were actually inside the arena that night, the masks were custom pieces crafted by local Mexico City lucha libre mask artisans, a tradition of handcraft passed down across generations. Every mask is made individually, fitted and detailed to the specific wearer. This required preparation. This did not happen spontaneously. Second, their position in the arena was not chosen at random. The ringside area where they sat is traditionally recognized as the best position for experiencing the luchador's performance, close to the primary entrance point, where wrestlers make their theatrical entrances. Someone deeply familiar with CMLL protocol selected that position for them. Third, Mystico's reaction when he spotted the 4 BTS members from the ring. Several videos that managed to capture that moment show Mystico briefly turning toward them and offering a small, deliberate salute before his match began. In lucha libre culture, that kind of gesture from a veteran luchador toward honored guests carries genuine significance. Fourth, the applause. A short amateur video that spread across TikTok captured the moment when all 4 BTS members clapped for one of the spectacular maneuvers in the ring, and the way they reacted, the way their entire body language responded to what was unfolding in front of them, showed clearly that they were genuinely enjoying what they were watching, not simply present for photographs. They were real fans that night, and that made everything feel true. The question that remains after all of this is, what does the long-term impact look like? For CMLL and Arena Mexico, the effects were already visible almost immediately. Global conversation around lucha libre surged dramatically. Tickets for subsequent CMLL events reportedly sold out far faster than usual. Mystico's name, already celebrated within wrestling circles, broke through into an entirely new audience. For BTS, this was confirmation that their reunification was not simply a return to an old formula. They came back with fresh curiosity, with willingness to appear in unexpected spaces, with an energy that felt not like artists trying to maintain relevance, but like 4 people who were genuinely enjoying the world. And for all of us who witnessed this moment from a screen, somewhere there is something deeply moving about that image. For men in masks, sitting at the side of a ring in a historic arena, laughing together, clapping together, experiencing something completely outside their comfort zone. After years of relentless pressure, nonstop scrutiny, and almost incomprehensible responsibility as part of the world's biggest group, there is something profoundly human about that moment. They were just 4 people who went to watch wrestling in Mexico, and the world paused for a moment to watch them do it. So that was the night of May 9th, 2026, a night that nobody who was physically present will ever forget, and a night that millions watching from a distance won't forget either. Not because it was a massive concert or a new album announcement, not because professional cameras and PR teams engineered every single moment, but precisely because it felt real, unscripted, not overplanned, just a meeting between four musicians from Korea, one legendary luchador from Mexico, and an old arena that has witnessed more drama than anyone could ever fully count. Culture met culture, and the world became a little smaller in the best possible way. If you enjoy content like this content that digs beneath the surface of the news, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below. What city do you think BTS is going to surprise next? I'll see you in the next one.